Well, howdy do, Buckaroos. How the heck are you? So, I'm having this Mexican Villa Cerveza, Flying Ace Lager, product of the USA. Now, Mexican Villa isn't a brewery. They are a chain of restaurants in the Ozarks. I use the term Mexican restaurants loosely, but they are a local flavor. They've been very popular for a long time. But on the side here, let me show you, it is brewed and canned by Piney River. So let me show it to you. This was actually the first lager that Piney River brewed, and they did it last year. Then after that, they did their own River Access Lager. I don't know how different the recipes are. Hell, it may be the same beer with a different label. Who knows? That wouldn't be the first time that's been done, has it? The aromas are light, but they're there if you're looking for them. I'm going to guess that they don't have the ingredients on the can or on their website. It's listed at 5%, 12 IBUs, I believe. But I'm going to guess it does contain corn. I'm going to say flaked corn, just shot in the dark. Holy crap, I think it's starting to rain. Start smelling rain all of a sudden. It is nice. So, I tell you what it reminds me of, though. A couple years ago, they brewed a crankbait cream ale. Obviously an ale, not a lager, but it reminds me. I'm almost wondering if they use the basic recipe for their cream ale and then, use the lager yeast, because the body, the flavors are very similar. It may be just a little crisper due to the lagering, but it's very similar. It's got a nice color using my Bellican glass. Kind of that South American style beer glass. That's a short glass, doesn't hold quite a full beer. It allows you to drink beer out of a glass without it getting too warm. It is nice. It's certainly crisper and cleaner than any macro lager. I've seen this in stores, varying prices from $7.99 to $9.99. I paid $7.99. The honest truth is, no, I probably would never pay $9.99 for it. Not necessarily because it's not worth it. I mean, it is a quality lager for what it is. But if I'm going to drop $10 a six-pack, I'm going to look for something else with more flavor. But at $7.99, it really is a nice beer. I mean, it's not much more than the usual macro suspects. And then here I have an actual beer. You know, for just about $1 more than the so-called king of beers, I can have a beer that uses a better grade of malt, even though it may or may not employ corn. It's using it in a much cleaner way. So, for me, I'd rather have a beer like this than any so-called king of beers any day, or any other macro out there. Again, if I'm talking about $1 and a half more six-pack, I'll drink a little less, drink a little better. I recently tried to do some macros. Again, mostly second and third tier macros, in all fairness. But I had to take a break from it because the last two I had were just so gosh darn awful. I had the Rockdale, which was horrible, and then I had the Milwaukee's Best Ice, which was undrinkable in my opinion. It was just horrible. I mean, all you got was this DMS, this nasty corn. Well, I'd say putrid, but that's kind of being kind to the word. As I'm not being fair to the word putrid, because it was worse than whatever's worse than putrid. That's what those two beers were. But here I've got an actual beer that tastes like an actual beer. It's an actual damn beer. Again, I've said this before. Adjuncts aren't necessarily the enemy. It's how they're used. You know what I mean? It's quality used and how they're used. This is the argument I have with a lot of my macro drinker friends. Well, Tom, if your beer has adjuncts in it, why won't you drink? Or why isn't it as good as the macros? Well, the reason is, well, there's a few reasons. One is the malt. They're using the cheaper malt. And they're using less of it. They're probably using a cheaper grade of corn, too, or rice, whichever they're using. and then again they're using more of it, and that's the difference. You use a cleaner malt, you don't get that DMS. You use your adjuncts to get to a certain flavor, a certain body, but you don't use it for cost-cutting measures, and that's really the difference, is that these macros aren't using it for flavor, they're using it as cost-cutting measures, and so many people have been brainwashed by these breweries to think now what they're drinking is good beer. Well, my dad drank that, so now I drink it and it's good. Well, no, it's not the same beer that your dad drank. It wasn't made quite so poorly back then. Excuse me, I got sidetracked for a second. I'm sitting outside and sometimes I get sidetracked by stuff going on around me. Anyways, my mind's wandering. Sorry about that, y'all. That happens, man. Anyways, well, it was a long day. Actually, this is just my second beer today on this Friday. I didn't have my first beer till 5:30. Left work in Arkansas, drove back home. Just got here, I don't know, not long ago. So, finally had enough time to take some chicken out of the freezer and chuck a few things in the crock pot for dinner, and then I came out and I had a beer. I had the Urban Chestnut Stamp Tish to start with. I probably should have had this one first because the Stamp Tish is a big German style Pilsner. This is much lighter, but it will serve as sort of a palate cleanser. It is a nice beer though. I don't want to compare it to the Pilsner because it really is a different animal. It's not trying to be the same beer. That beer has a big flavor. For folks not used to big flavor, they're not going to really enjoy that Stamp Tish. But non-craft drinkers might like a beer like this because it has a little bit more to offer than what they're typically used to. It's a little bit more flavor, little bolder. But the hop category is pretty similar at about 12 IBUs, whereas the Urban Stamp Tish is 5.4 with 35 IBUs. Yeah, that's a lot of IBU. That Pilsner ain't playing, man. But I'm a fan of both breweries. I really like Urban Chestnut. I like what they do, especially for their German styles. But I like Piney River. I like what they do out there as well. They do a lot of great stuff. They don't necessarily, they haven't yet anyway, I'll say. They haven't yet gotten way out of the box yet. But everything they do is just done well, and that's why I recommend that brewery to folks. I don't know if you're going to be wowed when you go there, but you're not going to be disappointed. And I like recommending the place to folks because Piney River, well, I mean, it's not close to anything. I mean, it really is a destination brewery. I mean, you got to want to be there. I don't recommend it to people that are just flight drinkers, you know. If you're one flight, move on to the next pub kind of drinker, I don't recommend it because there's no place else to go. Well, let's see, Rolla or St. James is what, I don't know, maybe 45 minutes from here, so. But for the most part, I mean, it is a place that people make a destination of, though. You know, they spend the day. I know a lot of locals, people that maybe live like us, live about 2 hours away from either direction, will go. They don't always have food. I think they are starting to do food, though, now that I think about it. But sometimes they have a food truck, but they also allow you to bring food in. And unless their policies changed since I've been out there, they used to always they used to also allow you to bring soft drinks in. So my wife, who doesn't drink, we can bring water or pop or whatever she likes to drink in. And then, you know, of course, they're gonna get some money out of me at the bar, but just everything they do is done well. I like the idea. They've added some decks out there, so it's nice. When the weather's nice, it's great to sit outside. or I've never taken advantage of it, but they also have a barbecue grill, I guess they let folks use. I know a lot of folks will plan events and parties out there just for that reason. It's just a nice place to go and spend the day. They got this big yard area. Of course, they've got a cornhole game out there. What brewery doesn't these days? Excuse me. So, anyways. See, here's the thing. This is the style that you typically want to drink very cold, or they start to get harsh on you. Here I am 10.5 minutes in. The beer has warmed up a bit, and it still tastes like it did before. And that's the difference with a beer like this and your typical macro lagers. That's why, you know, pay $1 more. You can find this for $8 a 6-pack. You know, pay $1.50 more. You know, you're going to get a better quality beer. Again, I don't know if it has adjuncts in it or not. I do kind of get the feel of flake corn from other beers that I've had. It reminds me a lot of their cream ale that they had. It also reminds me a lot of a beer that Crown Valley had made for Macadoodle's, a chain of liquor stores, a lager. It was a nice, easy drinking lager, ran about $6 a 6-pack, but it also used flake corn. It sort of reminds me of that in some ways. The flavor of the body is why I'm guessing I think there's corn in here. But yeah, again, even, I mean, I'm almost 12 minutes in now, and I'll be 12 minutes in by the time I wrap this video up. The beer hasn't changed. It hasn't gone harsh. And you get to the end of a macro, and you're going, oh, God have mercy. So there you go. Hey, I am Dr. Beer Whisperer, BeerVangelist, prolific beer drinker, purveyor of wisdom, and all-around good guy.